So a lot of people here already know who we are and what we do, but at least for you guys anyway, we're the Green Liaisons working group under the UD's Sustainability Task Force. And every month we try to bring you a speaker who showcases an environmental initiative happening on campus, around the community, that you might not otherwise know about or have learned about. And I'm Emily Benke, the co-chair of the Green Liaisons. Back there is Francis Crani, our other co-chair. And every month that's what we try to do. And then the goal is that those liaisons who come can then bring back that information to their respective departments or RSOs or whatever other groups they're affiliated with, and share that information because maybe you might not otherwise have learned about it. So today we have Terry Kaplan, who is the Eastern Pennsylvania Territory Manager for Planet Aid, which is a nonprofit that tries to protect the environment by recycling and reusing old clothes, and people donate them to those yellow bins that you see, and they are much more than those yellow bins, but I think that's what people associate them with probably most frequently. So you see those, and I think Terry's just going to answer the question today of where those clothes go and what people get those clothes, and then what other programs Planet Aid funds and supports in order to protect the environment and support communities locally and internationally. So let Terry take it away.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Terry Kaplan. I'm a Community Relations Manager with Planet Aid in Eastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and Delaware. I actually brought along an associate today, Abdi Abazuki, and he's my counterpart. He works out of Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia,
and DC.
And DC. Also, I'd like to say that we do have some yellow bins here on campus that you may have noticed. Anyway, let's talk about the waste situation in the United States. According to EPA figures, 2.68 pounds of waste per day are generated per person in this country. In the 90s, this amount rose to 4.74 pounds per person. And in today's world, it's actually come down a little bit to 4.38. Currently, we generate 250 million tons of waste per year in this country. Since the 1960s, recycling has become much more popular, and it's helped to divert waste from the disposal into landfills and also in incinerations. In 1960, the recycling rate was 5.6% in this country, and it's now today up to 34.5%. So there's much more awareness now than what was in the past. The highest rate of recyclable items is in the category of lead acid batteries, which is actually recycled at 95%. Next on that list would be newspapers, which is at 70%. And aluminum cans come in at 54.6%, and then glass containers are at 34%. Now, textiles. More than 14 million tons of waste in textiles are generated every year. 12 million tons of that end up into the landfills. So, well, the problem with, you notice there's a difference between we're only at 15% and the others are much higher. And the problem with the textile waste, it needs to be examined from both ends, the source end and also the disposal end. consumer behavior and changes to the fashion industry are huge factors in the textile waste problem. Americans consume nearly 20 billion garments a year, and that's 68 garments and 7 pairs of shoes per person, or actually more than 1 piece of clothing per week per person. In 2004, the United States accounted for 5% of the world population, yet they consumed 33% of all global consumption. As you can see, we're quite a consumptive society. Here's an illustration here. For every 8 people, this is the amount of clothing that 8 people throw away in a year. And that's over 500 pounds there. Now, the fashion industry has gone to a fast fashion cycle, which is really a main contributor to this. And what I mean by that is that, like in the past, new styles of clothing would come out like twice a year, okay? And it took retailers months to get it from the factories to their stores. Today, it's quite a big difference. Turnarounds are so fast. Fashion styles change so fast that the turnaround is just a matter of a few weeks. And one of the reasons is people just keep buying clothes, and it's the way it is, and it's driven also by cheap imports and cheap prices as a major drive to this. Now, according to a 2014 study, sales are expected to continue rising at a rate of 11% over the next 5 years. Now, okay, the other end is disposal. Unfortunately, too many people are throwing clothing away that they no longer want instead of recycling that clothing. This is due to the multiple factors which we can explain in terms of convenience and awareness. First, let's talk about the convenience. The fact of the matter is that recycling textiles is usually inconvenient, and convenience is a driving factor in our world today. Remember, recycling rates, like I told you before, of aluminum cans is 54.6%, glass comes in at 34%. However, clothing and textiles, it's languishing at 15%. It's just, there's so many of these receptacles for cans and glass all over, everywhere in today's society, but the clothing receptacles aren't as convenient. And there's a lot of reports that talk about this, and you know, the sustainability and recycling literature strongly supports these things that I'm telling you, and you can actually see a lot of that on Planet Ape's website to get into that more. Now, people would like to do more. Yeah, people do want to do more, but it's a matter of convenience, and also a lot of people don't know what textiles and clothing they can donate and what they can't. Well, as a matter of fact, people think they can only throw away their better clothing. They don't think that torn or ripped clothing or soiled clothing is something that can be recycled or reused. That's not true at all. Pretty much everything can be recycled and reused. I mean, the rubber sole from a pair of sneakers that you have, they can be reused. Actually, they're ground up into particles, and they can be used to make fields, for your athletic fields. Coats and sweaters can be refurbished and used to make padding in your carpets, padding in your car seats. More than half of the worn down clothing, towels, sheets, and other textiles are used, they're repurposed into wiping rags. Old wool sweaters, they could be used, actually they make the filling that are in softballs and baseballs today. Also, a huge factor is the paper money that we all spend. That comes from cotton and linen that is reused. So a lot of things are recycled that people don't understand. Now that we've discussed why, we also, let's talk about the impacts to the planet. Textiles have not received sufficient attention in terms of their environmental impact. Eco-textiles, which they're a huge textile recycler. They've come out and said fabrics are the elephant in the room. They're around us, but no one is really thinking about them at all. Just don't give much thought to it. Now, one of the biggest impacts from our clothing habit loss is the impact onto the landscape. Every year, it takes up approximately 126 million cubic yards of space. And that's just the beginning. There's also the resources that go into producing the fiber. Those include land for growing things like cotton and fossil fuels that both produce synthetic fibers and run all the machinery. According to data compiled by Eco Textiles once again, the fashion industry produced 60 billion kilograms of fabric. And the energy needed to do so, that type of quantity, is approximately 1,074 billion kilowatt hours of electricity. And that's still not all. The fashion industry is the third largest consumer of water in the world. And for just one t-shirt, it takes approximately 700 gallons of water to grow the fiber and to manufacture the t-shirt. The volume of water taken is only part of it also. There's also the discharge into the rivers. Some of the most worst conditions are found in China, where it's said that you can tell what the next colors are going to be fashionable next year by looking at their rivers. There's also global warming effects, which this is something you're probably all more aware of. Every ton of spun polyester produced emits 9.52 kilograms of CO2, and conventional cotton produced emits 5.9 kilograms of CO2 per ton of spun fiber. And as the textiles decompose, they release some CO2, and even worse, they release methane, which is a more potent greenhouse gas. And this really are major effects into global warming. Synthetic fibers, by the way, they don't decompose up into the atmosphere. They go the other way around. They contaminate our land. They go down. There's also other toxins involved. Conventionally grown cotton uses more insecticides than any other single crop. Nearly $2.6 billion worth of pesticides are sprayed on cotton fields each year, accounting for more than 10% of total pesticides used, and nearly 25% of insecticides used worldwide. In developing countries such as India, cotton fields are sprayed, and most of the times they don't even have protective equipment. Here's a sprayer in India, as you see, and he's having his tank refilled. You see no protective equipment at all. This represents another cost of textile production to us, and it's the cost of human lives, which is really not very good at all. In 2013, you all may remember this, it was only a few years ago, about the 8-story Rana Plaza factory building over Dhaka, Bangladesh. It collapsed on April 24th, and over 1,100 factory workers were killed in this tragedy, and over 2,500 were injured. The disaster highlighted the hazardous working conditions in Bangladesh's $20 billion garment industry and a lack of safety for millions of workers who are paid as low as $38 a month. And our goal at Planet Aid is to try and stop the waste that leads to these negative impacts and tragic consequences. Here you see that some of our recycling bins, we try and make them as convenient as possible by placing these textile bins in places where it's convenient for people to use them. We have more than 20,000 bins nationwide, and they're not everywhere yet, but we're trying very hard to get them into more places. Using our network of convenient bins, we divert 100 million pounds per year from the waste system. To put it in perspective, 100 million pounds is about equal to 254 jumbo jets. Now, there's also the greenhouse gas savings, and that's to the equivalent of taking 60,000 cars off the road. So, in summary, the work we do to collect textiles helps to fulfill our environmental mission by conserving resources, preventing pollution, lowering landfill burdens, and also reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. And here you see, this is an interesting thing. The clothing that we save from disposal, it's sold on the international market. Used clothing is the 8th largest export from the United States. And this map illustrates how it's distributed all over the place. Why don't we keep it all here? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, there's just simply way too much. Plus, people in this country are picky about the used clothing they buy, much more than anywhere else. And they're just, the market just is not as big here as it is everywhere else. And people here can afford to buy better clothing than pretty much everywhere else. And right here you see a used clothing market in Kenya. And this scene is repeated in just about every developing country all over the world. Every culture has its own name for the used clothing. For example, in Haiti, they call it Pepe. In Tanzania and Kenya, it's called Mitumba. In Zambia, it's called Salaula. And in Central America, it's called Ropa Americana. They even make names for it. It's such a popular thing. It's just commonplace. Actually, in Africa, 70% of the people there buy used clothing. And there's reasons for that too. First of all, they have factories in Africa that make clothing. It's just they can't afford it. The people there are just so disadvantaged monetarily. They can't buy new clothing. Even the imported stuff from China that everybody else can't afford. The used clothing provides a job and sustainable source of income for a lot of people in these places. And right here is a vendor from a used clothing market in Beira, Mozambique. Here's another vendor. Her name is Miriam, and she sells clothing in a market in Guatemala City. She's been selling clothes and shoes for over 20 years, and she uses her business to support her 2 children, which are now in college. She says that used clothing is a big help for her and for other people there. They just can't, and it's also good for the other end, like I explained to you, because the people just can't afford to buy new clothes. After we sell the clothing and cover our collection costs, we donate the remainder of, and this goes to developmental projects that we have in some of the poorest places on the planet. This is the second half of our mission, and that's to help the people, which I'm going to get into now. Planet Aid is also focused on the issue of global poverty. Every year, 30,000 children die because of poverty, and we are committed to combating those conditions. Planet Aid organizes and supports sustainable development projects in 16 countries around the world, through which we help people improve the quality of their lives, teaching them skills and providing them with the tools for long-term development. The projects we support aim to tackle poverty from multiple angles so that change will be comprehensive and sustainable over the long period of time. There's a lot more detail on our website regarding all the programs that we do. One of the main programs we have is Farmers Clubs. And here's just one example of a project we support. And it's these Farmers Clubs, they run 3 to 5 years and trains farmers in sustainable farming methods. It organizes them into cooperatives that they call clubs. And that helps them to overcome challenges, and they do it together as a team. They learn things like growing a wider variety of crops, using more drought-resistant species, and conserving water with drip irrigation and other technologies that they've come to learn. All of this has proven to help increase resilience in the face of climate change. In Malawi, for example, farmers clubs have successfully increased the average production by 250% of their water, and it also their income has increased by 100%. One of the things that Farmers Clubs does is drill new wells and also refurbish old ones. This is an example of the kind of technology introduced on a refurbished well. It's called a rope and washer pump. It is constructed locally from simple materials. You can see they're using a old car tire here. The pump is easily maintained and it's easily repaired, which in remote regions of Africa is extremely important. So that pretty much wraps that up. In closing, I want to say that when you see the yellow clothing bins, remember, Planet Aid provides a lot of help on both ends here. We do a lot of things for the environment, and we do a lot of things to help people too. And I encourage each and every one of you to please take a look at our Planet Aid website. It's extremely comprehensive. You can see a lot of different things there. Also, Abdi has actually firsthand been to Africa and seen our programs being run. He went on a trip there last year for 2 weeks.
Yes, I did. Last year, I took a trip to Malawi and Mozambique and Zimbabwe and part of South Africa. I was there for about 2 weeks. We were a team of 4. And the reason we went there, we wanted to see what kind of effect that really taking place in this country and it was an eye-opening for me and my rest of my team, because you can see what we're doing on the other side of the world and the other side of Africa, what's happening to them and how important to them and important for us to really work hard and try to reach out and help these people. And these are very simple farmers that we're looking at. I mean, we walk to the land, we work with them, they just get up and work. They're all team. This is all team families of 4 or 5 or 10 families, everybody, they all work the land and they all share. But to see them in hand and interact with us and what they're looking for, what they want from us, and that's what we want. And it's a great, great feeling. I was very, very impressed. I was very happy to be there. Especially in Malawi. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the world. I mean, one of the worst. I mean, you're talking people that don't have nothing. They don't have no food, no water. They have to walk an average about maybe 4 or 5 miles to get the water. I'm talking about water. A drink of water is not even close by. I mean, it really does. This is the water that is going to use to wash their clothes. They boil the water first before they cook it. But to see the tremendous, just to get the water, and they get up in the morning and they just smile and they just hit the road. And that is not such like, wow, we don't have this, we don't have, but they're just so happy with what they have and they know how to use it. And from our end, and we look at this like we're very, very lucky. I mean, for us to go through what they've been through, I think it will be very devastating. And I would love everybody to come over there and just live with them for like a month and see what the whole process. But we live with them. We didn't stay in the hotel. We slept on the floor. There's no AC. It was like 115 degrees every single day. We eat the same meal with them. But it was a very interesting. It was a great experience.
And also, as poor and poverty-stricken as these people are, they're probably, wouldn't you say, they're the happiest people you've ever met?
Well, yeah, they are. The smile on their face is just, it tells it all. I mean, it's just, you can't help it but just sit there and just what else do you need? And there is a huge demand. I'm not talking about just water, food, talking about medicine, schools. Schools, for example, they don't have schools with a roof. The school is just outside. They sit on the dirt by a tree. That's it. That's the school for them. And all the students on the dirt area, and the student and teacher that are bored and they just go by and go back to about 34 students on the dirt, and that's it. And they sit there all day and read and listen and they move on. But it's just to see it is just heartbreaking, but I'm glad they still manage to survive without what they have. And that's great. But they need more and more help. By us doing this for them, that's all we can offer. But for us, that's what we will support, and we're very proud of it.
Questions?
So I was doing some of the promotion for a few people who showed up for this event. And I did a lot of searching on the website to look for things to kind of share. So I noticed, I saw a lot of the programs. I didn't really get to dig down into them. So those programs are all actually run by Planet Aid. You're not just raising money and then donating it. Most of the programs are actually.
We don't donate any money, really. What we do is the money we make in profits go into the programs.
Okay,
and a lot of what these programs are involved with is we actually train teachers to educate over there. And it's geared towards educating them how to make a better life for themselves through learning how to do things like farming, how to start a small business, things like that. And we also build schools with this money. We don't give money. When you give money, it usually doesn't end up getting to the right people.
Right.
So this is why we developed our own programs.
It's both ends.
Right, and
Exactly.
there's other funds are part of USAID of Agriculture, World Bank, UNICEF. Our
Yeah.
partners are Exxon, Johnson & Johnson's. They're all partner about this program to see, especially in Africa. Not in Africa, this is Africa, Central America, and Asia, and also part of the world. But the program is growing because the demand, especially in Africa, the drought they have the last few years is very devastating. I mean, it's just incredible. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But all this, I guess you need a lot of fund, and that's why we're trying to reach out to everyone for fund. But you hosting our event, that's part of the help that we can ask for, so.
Yeah, we do get grants from like he mentioned, United States Department of Agriculture probably gives us our largest grant.
And all this grant, all this work that you see in Farmers Club and everything is supervised by the U.S. Aid of Agriculture. They have their own team. They travel to these countries in Africa and they want to see, well, okay, what kind of program are we really taking for? This is what we do. They want to see because it's a government fund. They want to see how it's working for these people. So, you have a question?
Yeah, I was curious. On the clothes you collect, is there a portion that stays in the U.S. or is it all go overseas?
As far as the program is,
No, the clothes that you actually collect, is it all sold
oh,
overseas?
everything is sold. Yeah, we do a lot of work in the community beside what we do overseas. We
Right.
do have a lot of community work that we're part of, but most of it goes to outside.
Any other questions? Yes.
I was just wondering if you guys know the timeline for when you put the clothes in the bins and when they would get to someone? Is that?
The time frame. Normally, when we place a bin, it would take about 90 days to really see the return because people they're gonna talk to each other and take a little while for them to know the bin exists. It depends on the volume of the bin. Sometimes we'll empty the bin 2-3 times a week. Then it's been collected every week to our warehouse and it's shipped. So it's the turnaround. It's within a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, all our warehouses have balers. And these things are, once they're collected, they're brought back and they're basically baled right up as soon as possible. And we have different recyclers send their trucks in and we load them up. We usually load up like 3-4 trucks a week.
Yep.
Your facility may do even more.
Yeah, we do more. And all the clothes, they're not assorted. Everything is pounded, like a bale. I mean, it weighs maybe 300, 400, 600 pounds of clothes. So.
Do you guys know where the one is? I wasn't actually sure.
Which one?
The one
Oh,
that-
you're at this facility?
Yeah.
Not so sure.
We'll find out, and I'll make sure we share it.
And our website, you always have access. You can go to our
Actu-
website. There's a link. You can type in your zip code, and it will list the nearest bin next to you. So it's easy. So you don't have to. And there's a tax receipt available on our website. Anytime you donate, there is a tax receipt available. You can. It's tax deductible because we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So there's a tax receipt available on our website. Any other questions? I have a lot of pictures
Well-
from Africa, but it's just like, it's
Right.
about 300 pictures of them. It may take like 2 hours. So.
I just would like to thank the Green Coalitions group and the University of Delaware for having us here today. It was our pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I hope we continue our relationship, and we're going to be here, and thank you for your support. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
And I know obviously it's a smaller group than we usually have, and it probably isn't all the spring break and people are leaving. And
No, that's
people are,
fine. We count on you to spread the word.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, maybe next year we'll move it back to the April month,
yeah, absolutely. So, and
because I'd be happy to come back. And the April month is the month of Earth Day, too, so it'd be very good.
We do it the whole month.
yeah,
Yeah, we do a lot. So there's a lot of different things that we could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, we can even make it more a bigger event. We can bring tables, we can bring
This is-
balloon, we can bring interact with the student and make them aware of what we do and get them some familiar who we are. So it's more like
Yeah,
getting to
absolutely.
school. Yeah, definitely. We would love to do that.
Yeah, and I would love for them to know where the thing is so that we can, we have comfortable, especially when they're moving out and everything. We have
Yeah.
we have a system that's
Yeah.
visiting Earth Month is great, but it's also
Right.
very busy and it's hard to get people's
No,
attention.
agreed, yeah.
But at move out time, we try to do as much as we can with
Mhm.
keeping things out of the waste stream.
Right.
So I think we can really ramp up and try to share as much as we can at that point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing with George Mason University.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
we'll
Howard
share for-
University, they're all part of it,
Okay.
yeah.
So Howard and North Mason.
Yeah,
all of
that's
it.
it, they are. Mhm. Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you all for coming.
No, thank you.
We so appreciate it.
No, thank you.
I personally really love this one because I really love waste talk.
No, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much to give us the opportunity to come and talk to you and share. Thank you so much. And thank you again for supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you.